Well, Coach Allen, it's an honor to be speaking with you tonight. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. Well, we're talking through your three high Cyclone defense tonight, and really excited to hear about that. But before we dive into that, give us a quick rundown on your background. I know you're a Dallas native, played ball at TCU. What else can you tell us about your football journey up to this point?
Well, again, grew up in Dallas, Oak Cliff, born and raised, Bishop Dunn High School. Anybody in that area in early 90s knew about the Bishop Dunn teams that were really good. Was blessed to get a scholarship at TCU. Played corner there, it's 4-year letterman there, under head coach Pat Sullivan. So it's the old Southwest Conference. So tell them my age now. So did that. Actually coached 1 year at Nolan Catholic High School during college in '98. And took a kind of 3-year hiatus from coaching. I had aspirations of going to law school, so I worked in D.C. For Senator from Arkansas, Tim Hutchinson, and I worked for Congressman J.C. Watts, Oklahoma quarterback. So I did that 3 years, and then I started coaching in Northern Virginia, South Lakes High School, a guy named Joe Charuco, in Northern Virginia, a suburb of D.C. Little D3 ball in Iowa, coached at Houston Westbury with Scott Joseph, who's now the head coach at Alden Davis in the Houston area. Been a lot of places, A-Leaf, North Shore for 1 year under Coach Amon and Coach K, Lance Carter at Maida Creek, and then took me to Lamar Consolidated, well, A-Leaf Hastings before that, Lamar Consolidated, and then for 5 years, and now Richmond for the last 2 years. So, at least I forget, I always tell people this, I feel like I really learned how to coach when I coached abroad. So I coached in Mexico for almost 4 years, in Puebla, Mexico, college football, south of Mexico City. So I coached there for 3 years. And so, little story behind that, I did a job interview one time when I came back from Mexico. I won't say where the place was. And I was on the board, and the coach goes, well, we can't do that. You know, our kids aren't that good. I said, man, I coach just to a language barrier. Our kids can do this. So it's kind of my mentality ever since I've lived abroad, you know. So road less travel, I would say.
I'm sorry I interrupted you there. I was going to say, sounds like it. Not only have you coached abroad, coached outside of the state. So now that when you look at your coaching experiences, and you look back on coaching outside of the state, in the country of Mexico, what's different about high school football in the state of Texas, and what's kind of kept you here now that you've been here? What separates football here from other places you've been?
It's just how we do it here. Just the coaching. I'm a Texan, so it's just really how we go about our daily business and how well prepared the coaches are, and how the fans and the support of the parents and the facilities and just everything, the competitiveness is so competitive here. It's no top tier. I mean, you got to play. We all know Texas high school playoffs. I mean, everybody's good. You got to be prepared. Your kids got to be prepared physically, mentally. So that just makes Texas better, the cream of the crop, and that's fact. I don't think that's fiction.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that most would agree, and there's probably some other coaches from other states that might have something else to say about that. But so when you're looking at your defense now, where you are in terms of your defensive philosophy, how has that philosophy changed and morphed over the years as you've had different experiences, as you've been different places?
I'd say this. In Virginia, when I was there, is when Virginia Tech was really good with Bud Foster. So I've always been a bear front guy. I love the bear and the different things you can do with it, and suffocate it as a defense and suffocate certain offenses. But I realized when I started running bear that a lot of offensive coaches, weren't prepared for it. To be honest with you, they were traditional four-man front or three-man front. And then when you play bad, well, he's not going to stay in it this long. Well, until you can block it, I'm going to stay in it. But it kind of grew from that to, I've been a secondary coach a long time. And I would say my philosophy was, the schematics and scheme of, do you play this kid that's supposed to be a Sam Backer, and he fits the body type, but he's not a better player than that undersized secondary kid you got on the sideline that needs to be on the field, but you're so stuck in playing a certain style. And I think over the years, that kind of just nudged at me, but I didn't know mentally how to get around it to make it happen, if that makes sense to you, or to go wholesale with it. And that's where it kind of, and then Coach LaFavors, my head coach, Rick LaFavors, we put the funny story about head coach at Ridgepoint at Lamar Consolidated. I think some people know is Coach LaFavors and I played 3 years ago at TCE. So he played safety and I played corner. So our relationship goes back to 1992, 93, I would say. So he's a secondary guy, so it's easy. We're a little bit different on how we see football. He had talked to Coach Beatty that was at Kansas, and he goes, "Hey, have you seen what Iowa State's doing defensively?" And I kind of heard because they beat TCU and Oklahoma that year. And I got a hold of some film, and it's a true story. I watched every clip. I'm not gonna say I got the film. It was on Huddle, so was able to get every defensive clip from the TCU, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Iowa State game. And I was laying in bed, and I said, "Okay, I know how to call it now." It was just really just a breath of fresh air. I'm telling you, to me personally, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for," and that's where kind of what started right there in the spring of 2018 with that defense.
Well, I'm gonna let you open up your presentation now. We're gonna jump into that and talk about that today because we have a lot to get to, and I want to make sure you get everything covered. I think a lot of us who have been kind of paying attention to college football have seen that to some extent, and I know we've dabbled in it over the last couple of years and seen the success with other programs that have run that. And I think it's something that's really intriguing and something that, again, that we personally would like to do more of. And I know that you're probably seeing that a lot as you talk with people about this defense. So as you're pulling your presentation up, talk to us about what, when you said you're watching it on video, like what was it about this defense in particular that really, made the light go off for you saying, yeah, this is what we need to be doing?
Coaches were dinosaurs. Right, so we're going to stay to what we're comfortable with. And I remember that spring I had 6 or 7 secondary players that were really good coming back. And I said, this is a true story. I installed it through an athletic period, like just the base secondary stuff. And I said, you guys go out there in 7-on-7, we're going to do it. And we were playing a really good team in 7-on-7. And a team that had beat us in regular football, and then you got 7-on-7. They had beat us pretty bad and great athletes, but it gave our kids such confidence because in a 7-on-7 game, I think we held them to like 14 or 21 points. Which was like way. Our kids like, wow, we're good at this. And when you see your players are good at this and have a certain comfort level, you got to give it to them. They wanted more. They wanted more, and that's when it kind of, I know how to call it. We had run a stack defense in Mexico, and I actually helped put a stack defense playbook together with another buddy, and so the verbiage of how I wanted to call it and how it meshed was really easy for me personally of how I wanted to install it, if that makes sense. So
yeah. Well, we're all looking for ways to simplify things, but also make it look as if we're doing more than what we're really doing, right? And to be simple but appear to be complex. Make the simple appear complex, I think, is probably the goal of every defensive coordinator when you roll into a weekly game plan. You want your guys playing fast. No one wants their guys thinking. And so I think that kind of what you're talking about, this defense allows your guys to do that. Is that correct?
Yes, it really does, and it just allows you to have a bigger toolbox and really, I want to be the option team of the district. That team as coordinators that you don't see very often. That, okay, it's in the spring and summer. Oh, we got to play this school that runs triple or slot option, or that's in the back of your mind. So I want to be that guy to the offensive coordinators. Why not? We defense, we don't get nothing. We got to be that team, So.
Well, let's get to your presentation. I'll let you pull that up for a second, and Coach, I'll make sure. I think I have the steps for you to make sure the video is good. So whenever you pull it up, I'll kind of give you the steps on how
Okay,
to.
so I'll go to the PowerPoint first. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. And let me know if you're okay with seeing it. And
Yep, you're good.
And I'll just kind of go to this slide view. So you can kind of see this first one. 2018, we installed it. Now, we only played it in certain situations. 2-minute, third down situations, things of that nature. So you can see the numbers here from sacks to interceptions, forced fumbles, TFLs, things that are kind of game-changing things for defensive guys. 2019, our sacks went up, interceptions went down, forced fumbles, in the tackle for losses, and then the defensive TDs.
Yeah, those are impressive stats, Coach. So what made you, I guess you started toying with it in 2018, and
Yes.
was it after that you're like, okay, this is something that we want to go to, a wholesale change and make this change? It was after that season that you guys decided to make that change completely?
Yeah. So again, we had so many guys coming back that were juniors in secondary in 2018 that in 2019 we're like, look, and we had lost some pretty good defensive linemen. And so we knew we had to build around the secondary. We never going playoffs 2018, 2 rounds deep in 2019 at Lamar Consolidated, and they hadn't been in the playoffs in quite some time. We were able to turn that place around. But wholesale, we just saw it on film that we were giving teams problems. And we had to just evolve. And you get the learning curve as well. Certain run fits, how teams are going to attack you, how multiple can you be with it, what formations are you going to see constantly. And then in 2019, our first year at Ridgepoint, we go to state quarterfinals, and you can see the numbers there. And it really fit their scheme. They were a 3-4 quarters team, a lot of quarters. We're like, look, we're gonna play some man, some one-eye stuff, a lot of middle field closed coverages, and let these kids just go play ball. And then obviously this past year with the number 32, 15 interceptions, 17 forced fumbles, the TFLs, which are huge on drive stopping plays, and defensive touchdowns. So that kind of was like we're doing something right. Now we marry stuff with other things, but this is just some good numbers because I know a lot of coaches love the numbers and things of that nature that they want to see. So, and I'll just go through this a little bit. 3-eye concept, we have multiple secondary players off the ball as extra run fit players. All right, and we're going to decide who those kids are. We use a lot of 3-man front as defensive linemen. Being able to teach 3 or 4 of your most flexible players multiple positions, that's key. We try to be able to do that, and I'm kind of foreshadowing as we look at the sub-varsity kids. They're mainly safeties, linebackers, target those players. Now, I'm prone to see a kid that you know that's an outside linebacker or a bigger kid, I will throw them in the secondary first. And it may look awkward, and I've done that the last few years, just teaching them coverages. You might be like a JV game, like they got Cam Chancellor back there. I'm trying to teach this kid how to look at the game from a different visual. And once they understand the coverages, I think in my personality and with them, it becomes easier. So with us, secondary coverages and concepts come first. And what defense front do we build from is another point. It sounds weird, but we build everything off bear. If you come to spring ball, watch us, you're going to hear bear, cover zero. Bear, cover zero. Because for us, it's almost like the best way to put it, that bear can morph into what we want it to morph into, if that makes sense. And we know that's a very uncomfortable defense for a lot of offensive coaches to see.
Now, when you say bear as it pertains to this particular defense, are you still talking about a 5-down defensive front, or are you playing 2-4 eyes with a head up nose, and then maybe an outside backer walked up, or how exactly are you playing?
It's a nose, 2-3s, 2-5s. Traditional bear front.
Okay. All right.
And we'll morph that into whatever we want it to morph into.
Okay.
Whether that could be a big guys, or it could be a small, but it's still going to be bear to a certain extent. So our development personnel, when I talked about this, we've really been lucky to have 2 secondary coaches because the positions are so different. And also an outside linebacker coach. I know a lot of teams have moved to 2 defensive line coaches, but we really, if we have the opportunity, 2 secondary coaches. And that helps us because, again, there's just so many different things you have to coach and teach for the multiple positions. Now, every type of hybrid or secondary player can fit in the scheme. When I say that, you got corners that are flat defender corners. You got kids that, may not be the most athletic kid, but he's the smartest kid. I have a kid right now who's a decent, really good athlete, but he's going to West Point. You know what I mean? He can fit in our scheme with the number of secondary players we have. You have your man corner, your best man guy. You got your kid that's really an outside linebackers / safety. We'll put him as one of the safeties. So there's so many skill sets, and I know, Coach, we all have those kids on our sideline. All of us have those kids with those that we can develop in that scheme. But again, you have to start, and I'm not sure like we'll talk about this, but you got to find those kids on your sub-varsity. You got to really. That's when I have fun. I'm going to the sub-varsity games. I'm watching those kids develop. I know a lot of times they're scout team players, but when they play, you get a chance. I mean, it's almost like I'm schematically looking at their bodies and how they're playing and putting them in certain places.
Yeah, sometimes that just takes, you can say, well, I don't have those kids, but you just have to change the way you look at a kid, right? Like, I think sometimes, I know early on we can sort of fall in the trap of writing kids off or putting kids in a category too soon,
Yes.
Especially at that age, instead of trying to see them as, all right, this kid, he could be an outside backer. He could be, he could be a safety. Heck, he could blow up and be a defensive end, like a rush in type kid, on down the line. But yeah, I think it just takes some creativity and thinking outside the box when you look at your kids and not automatically saying, hey, this kid's a fill in the blank.
Yeah, because, the cover's not always filled. And you got to look at it that way of, this is what I want to run, but again, this is not the 85 Bears defense. If you know what I'm saying, offenses are getting a lot of snaps. I mean, we're out. I mean, every school's averaging 60, 70 snaps on defense. And, so you're going to say, even if you have 3 or 4 defensive linemen, they're going to play 70 snaps. I mean, I just don't think it's feasible. You got to get kids out there that are athletic and run that can do more snaps. Again, our goal when I meet my defense, we're looking not for the top 11. We're looking for the top 15 or 16 kids. We're trying to play 15 or 16 kids a game. And I think that's if you want to make a push in the playoffs and you're 3 or 4 rounds deep in the playoffs, you're going to need, I think, at least 15 to 16 kids that are helping you win on defense, that can do that longevity of playing 14, 15 games. That's just my opinion. Now, you're going to have to be patient with the run game and answers to the offensive heavy package, right? So what are those heavy packages, those 12 personnel packages, those 22 personnel packages that they're going to attack you with? Because that's what they're going to do. Where's your creativity in that? And be prepared for that. Progressive mindset. Again, we all want 300-pound defensive linemen. I mean, who doesn't? You know, but that's few and far between. And the biggest thing is, you know, no excuses. We all have rosters with kids with different skill sets. That's the fun part, the development part. You know what I mean? And this package helps you utilize them. So, you know, multiple fronts tied with the secondary calls. You know, that's obviously going to change the run foots. Big thing that we've gotten really good at and our kids love is walkthroughs during the athletic period. Now, we're a little lucky because right after lunch is my off period or film time. But they would walkthroughs and slowing everything. It's just really, really good for us. And we've moved to a lot of that during the season. Concept of the extra fitter and who are the force players. Constantly verbalizing. We talk a lot. I mean, if anybody comes to our practice, you might hear box, dent, deuce, tray, you know, just constant verbiage. And we harp on that daily. I mean, you're not going to play for us if you don't communicate. You cannot be silent. Everybody has to know what everyone's doing, because in a nutshell, kids want to know where their help is. They want to know if they have help or don't have help. And that gives them a way to have their comfort level on doing their job that I found for us. So.
Yeah, and when they're talking, they're thinking, you know, and so
Yes.
that's the first thing that goes out the window when teams start tempoing is guys stop talking, because now they're focused on their thing and they're not focusing on the, you know, they are just focused on getting lined up, and they stop talking, and that's when bad things happen for us on the defensive side of the ball, for sure.
Yes, sir. You're exactly right. And so again, there's my email. That's for the PowerPoint, my Twitter, Coach Cedric, and then we'll get to the to some of the stuff on Huddle if you guys want to check that out. So this is just a 2x2 formation, and it shows you have a 5 shade, a 4-eye, and we just kind of build from this. If this is just, you know, as basic as we can, and we have our dime, our nickel. We call this our money safety, our rover, and our cat safety, and obviously 2 corners. So this structure right here is where we kind of, day one, this is where you line up. And from here, we can do multiple fronts, multiple coverages, and multiple pressures. And it all comes from, let's run this. And in our junior varsity, they'll run just a base of this, if that makes sense. They'll just run base. And that just gives them practice of just learning, as we all know, be good in base first, and then you can move to something else. You know what I mean? And it's good for them and good for us as coaches to see them run it. Because again, like we talked about earlier, we're looking at those skill sets of certain kids. Well, you know what? Maybe he's not a dime. Maybe he's a rover. Maybe he's not a corner. Maybe he's a money safety. You know, so we're doing that as they, on the sub-varsity level, as they play, right? So it's good for us to see them do that. All right. So I'm going to go to a couple videos so you guys can just kind of see what we're doing a little bit. And so what I'll do, Coach, I'll kind of show you the evolution a little bit. So I'll show you some clips from Lamar Consolidated. And then the first year basically installed, the second year, and then it's kind of the evolution of it, if that makes sense, if I'm saying that.
Yeah, that'll work.
So So this is just a basic. This is a passing situation. You know, we got all these. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 juniors in there, and we're just kind of dabbling in it a little bit on certain passing situations. So these are a lot of pressures um, that we're trying to just see what the kids can do. And this is our first year kind of running it, and I'm going to get to the wide and change the structure a little bit. So you can kind of see we got a rover, a dime, nickel, inside backer. We're playing a 5. We got head up nose and a 4-eye right there. We're playing a little zero coverage in that one. And for me, when I watch this, I can say, oh, we look so stiff. We don't. It's very stagnant. Like, I don't know. You don't see a lot of movement. This is the first year. I don't know if you can see it. It's just kind of, no stemming around, just kind of playing ball, which is, again, they're just kind of getting a feel for how to play this defense. We'll look at the structure one more time. So this is some zero coverage we're doing, a little pressure. Just bringing a guy off the edge. And this will be the last clip, and then I'll move to the next one. So again, I would say the biggest thing to get from that is not a lot of movement or talking. I don't know if you could notice it. You know what I mean? Just kind of lining up and no disguising, nothing of that nature, if that makes sense to you.
Right, and it was at this point where you guys are kind of strictly just using this as a passing situation or in passing situations. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so now, so let's look at these clips real quick. And again, this is the second year with the same kids, almost identical kids. Let me get to it. So they're almost identical. So from the start, I think you can see a little bit more. You can even see the talking and movement a little bit better. So we got a outside linebacker kid out there that first play of the game. Not his skill set. But again, I mean, my bad, coach. I'll go to this side. Can you kind of see yourself as a coach, the confidence a little bit of just the movement and talking? Probably.
Yeah, you can see them stemming around a little bit and kind of, whereas those early clips, they're showing they're giving their pressures away, kind of lining up in them, and now they're stemming a little bit and coming later and timing up those blitzes. And so you can see, those guys having a little bit more confidence there. One thing I'm curious of there. So when you play, do you always play your 5 that wide? Is he always a stand-up?
No. It just depends on the personnel we have and who the kid is. This kid was actually a running back. We moved to defense because we had the kid at Baylor, Tate McWilliams, was a 2,000-yard rusher that year. And we're like, Eugene, you're a good player, but Tay's the man. So you might want to come to defense. So he's really just an athlete, anyone used with his hand down in the dirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm sure it also could be based on, obviously they're in a gun split look, but that you got sort of an outside run backfield, with those backs, and if you're thinking stretch or something to them, then obviously you'd want to widen them out, loosen them up a little bit, and to cut that stretch off. But so when you
and even our rover, Go ahead, Coach. My bad.
No, that's fine. No, go ahead, Coach.
I'll say even our rover. Now this is a little bit just like, look, he's our extra fitter, and he's just saying, you know what, I'm going to come up in the box. It almost looks like a 3-4 to a certain extent with that extra linebacker in the box. But again, they have that freedom, and then when they come to the sideline, I'll be like, you know, move around a little bit or don't show it if you're going to be an extra fitter. Now, I will say this kid, and even the kid I have at Ridgepoint, I mean, these rovers are guys that like to mix it up. I mean, they ain't afraid of linemen. They're not afraid of contact. This kid is like that, and the kid I have now, they are. Let's go. Let's get in there and let's mix it up some. You know, but athletic, our best athlete. Number 3 was our best athlete on the defense, just pure athleticism. And the kid we got at Ridgepoint, he's a D1 kid with about 6 offers. He's a extremely athletic, fast, strong kid. So again, you can see a little bit of the misfit right here. You know what I mean? A lot of times we would call this, so on this pressure right here, you know, again, we got a newbie at end. So this dime's going to come. We make a call, blade, and I know he got the call because this kid is really smart. You know, if he's coming, he has the blade inside to that B gap on that pressure, but he doesn't. And then we got 2 and 1 gap, right? So just little things like that when we talk about run fits and communication. Those kids are communicating, hey, I'm coming. You got to blade it inside that gap because I'm going to be coming off the edge and C gap.
So in that picture right there, you have the who is that coming off the edge? That's the
dime
player. Okay. So you have the dime coming off the edge. So obviously he's C gap. You have your 5 tech who's taking B gap. So then is it I'm trying to see there. So okay, so your nose is in the A gap, your mic's in the opposite A gap. Okay. And then you have the B gap, you have the 4i for that other B gap. And then your C gap player on that other side, is that your cat player?
Yeah.
The apex guy.
Yeah, so this guy's technically it's free. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
He's a guy that you can't account for. You know what I mean? And which is what we're trying to get on this play.
And looking at that picture, if you're an offensive coordinator, you know, at the onset, you're probably licking your chops and if I'm calling plays, I'm doing exactly what they're doing. You think that B gap's wide open. Do you find that in most cases they don't account for the rover in their blocking scheme? So he is a free player most of the time.
Yes, but I have to do a better job of, he makes so many plays, you can get greedy. You know what I mean? And you got to I have a call where I can decide who that extra fitter is. Like we can decide whoever we want to be that extra fitter. It's just that you have to, as a coach, don't get comfortable with that kid making all those plays because teams are going to scheme you up, if that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is at Ridgepoint last year. No, the year we went to state semifinal. So a little bit of the same structure. We got a little bit different athletes out there. I love these 6'2", 6'2", really, really, really good athletes we have over there. Same structure. Now you see the end when he's in a stance on this one, the 5 technique. We just do a good job there. We're just running a base, some of our base stuff, and just playing ball.
Let me ask you this. Can we back up to the wide view?
Yep.
Okay. So here pre-snap, I think it's your middle safety. Is that your money safety?
This is the rover.
Okay,
this
rover.
Is the money and cat.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting those mixed up. So your rover, what's his alignment, like his base alignment, and what are you telling him? What's he keying pre-snap, and then what are his run responsibilities and things like that? Pass responsibilities. I know those change based on what you have called, but Let's just start. What's his alignment, his pre-snap read?
Well, right now he's probably about, I'd tell him to start off to 8 or 9 if he's going to be the extra fitter. He's communicating with this guy. So his main communication is with, he's the extra fitter, he's communicating with the mic. Now, everything. This past season, he set the front for us and did the coverages. So you don't see that a lot where safety's set in the front. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how smart and a gifted athlete he is, and just a really heck of a player. Now, these guys are doing the coverages. So they're relaying this. He's relaying to him. He's talking 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 to him. So that's how we kind of do it, if that makes sense. They're responsible for these guys. They're responsible for these guys. It looks like we're probably rolling the coverage. So if we're rolling the coverage, he's just a low hole player, if that makes sense.
Yep.
High hole player. He's going to be the low hole player for any mesh, anything. Again, we've probably got a high safety in 3 or 1. And again, middle field close. We're going to make you throw the ball out here. You know what I mean? And if you throw it in here, this kid has about, I can't count, maybe 9 interceptions in 2 years and 3 or 4 pick sixes. So you're playing with poison thrown in here. If that makes sense. Again, those are the easy throws. Throw it out here, and we're going to rally and play football. He is really keen. His key is the back on run, and then on pass, he's going to sit in the hole. So, and we can change that up depending on who we're playing, if that makes sense to you, whether we feel like it's even on run, you know, you want to keep the quarterback's athletic, you know, let's key him. So
yeah,
we don't have him as bad to say. We just say, man, just go play football. All right, get a feel first quarter. All right, hey, you start reading this back and seeing where he's going. All right, that's window dressing. They're running to the number 3 receiver side. Get your key from there, but still get your fit.
Well, yeah, and you know, you're saying that it sounds bad that he's just playing football, but I mean, I think that's, again, going back to what you were talking about at the beginning. That's the whole beauty of it. Whenever we've played this look here, that kid that is that extra safety has been a kid who's kind of an extra guy, or someone maybe we brought over from offense, or someone who is sort of a plug-in guy that maybe doesn't get a bunch of reps. So the coaching that he gets is minimal, right? Like you kind of just give him sort of the basics and then turn him loose to go play football.
Exactly. And so I'll let this play. What's the same play? The power of or dart, I'm sorry. And it'll be different next year because this kid, number 9, Kalu, missed all of last year. He played 2 games. He's a 3 or 4 star kid. He's a sophomore this year, but we have another, you know, I have 2 power 5s at defensive tackle next year. 6'4", 290, 6'3", 285. So, you know, still have our foundations of Bayer and these fronts right here.
Yeah. Big D linemen. Big D linemen cover a multitude of sins, so that's always a great thing to have in your arsenal there.
And so we're fitting it up pretty good on this.
Yeah, again, your rover is really fast fitting there, and again, but when his key is the back, I mean, he can read that back's path. He's coming downhill right now, and now he's coming to match him.
Exactly. And we do those run fits. I mean, these kids go to inside together, so he has to understand I'm fitting outside, he's fitting inside. You know, darts, again, another favorite play. Teams like to attack us on, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And personnel-wise, this kid's going to West Point. I mean, as a whip coach, I'm telling you. Lines everybody up. So on this one, again, we're playing a lot of base. This is the second round of the playoffs last year, and we're just, we're rolling to this corner. He's kind of sitting flat-footed as an extra fitter. If that's the case, this guy I would like for him to dent it inside of that guy and bounce it to that corner.
Okay. Now in this case, your number 2 up top, is that the number 2? Or
He's trying to see who to get. He's trying to see if I crack him or am I going to him?
Yeah, and so if he was to release on just on a hot route or pop pass right there, like who's is it the rover? Is the rover supposed to be picking him up there because your other safety's coming off the edge?
Yes. So the dime's right here fitting. I would say if he's running hot, if he's fitting on this right side, he has to make that tackle.
Yeah.
Now again, we love length. This guy's 6'2". So we try to take away these windows as best I can because I want this guy to drift to him. You know what I mean? So pack it back, sit in that hole, make that slant of that mesh come to the rover. All right. They want to bubble it, we'll vice it up. But again, know where your help is. And if you get a run pass read, just sit right in here. We want him to drift to the middle of the field where we got all these guys. And so I'll look at 1 or 2 more clips. And this is our first year, obviously, playing this with these kids. And this was the COVID year, so we're a new staff, no spring ball, show up, and, okay, you got to get ready for a season, and we're able to go to the state quarterfinals, So I was just really impressed with the kids. So this is a third round of playoffs. Oh, there's a clip in here I really want to show you that I think you really like. So again, a 3 safety look. But we're kind of morphing into a big package right there. You know what I mean? So now you see that rover wear as almost an overhang. That's the beauty of his skill set, if that makes sense. Just really putting him in multiple. He's such a good athlete that you just got to put him in multiple places. And I'll show you one more, coach, and then we'll kind of move to this past season. I thought I had that clip, but I guess I don't. We'll kind of do it. We'll just do it now, coach, if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect, coach.
And so this past year. Again, we went into the season saying to ourselves, we're going to be really big up front. And then the injury bug just really, really hit us hard. So the second round of playoffs, they got a heavy formation. So this dime, who's usually out, he kind of comes down in the box, almost like a 4-man. We got our 3 safeties, just running some base coverage out of it and trying to see what we can do. Playing speed ball, trying to get perimeter on us, and we're pretty good at that. This guy is pinned. He hasn't watched that crack, obviously. but we're fast enough to come rally back on it.
Yeah, great pursuit by those guys there. That always helps.
Again, he's, you know, just one of those games where he's like, Coach, I'm just gonna fit it the way I want to fit it. I say, okay, you play it like you want, and let's just do what we got to do.
So, how do you play a tight end mostly? Will you walk up a dime or your cat safety? Is that how you do that? How you handle it usually?
It for me, it's
An attached tight end.
okay. I'll just give you an idea. So this kid's 6'2", he plays some dime. Our dime's gonna go to the multiple receivers, right? Our more athletic type kid. We're pretty banged up in the second round, so I moved him to the away from the multiples. He's 220 pounds. And I moved the tiny little DB. I'm essentially playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm playing with 6 DBs right now in this defense. Typically, this would be more of a hybrid, and this would be also more of a hybrid outside linebacker. But we just don't have too many injuries. So with an attached tight end, a lot of teams will go, ace, and we'll keep a speed guy to the multiples. But this guy, number 15, is big enough to play outside of a tight end, and he could face a tight end, just depending on who we're playing and what they're trying to do with us. Manipulate the coverage or whatever, extra fitters if we want, to this side where they're running if we want it, whether that's slanting that way and fitting this way, But we just got to be able to have someone strong enough to play the point on the tight end. And how long can we last if I'm putting this little bitty guy on that weak side? If that makes sense to you.
Yep.
Now, next year, we have a kid about 6'2", about 190, which is what I love. And this kid will be back next year, and he has about 4 or 5 offers right now. At 225 pounds, playing weak side. I mean, he can hold the edge really good if you. Our big Bo, and again, I always tell this: 200, 210, 215, 220. We had 4 turnovers this game. We caused 4 turnovers. We got our top 3 interior tackles are out for the year. It's the second round of the playoffs in 6A Division I. And we're just playing speedball. It's what we have, Coach. It's what we got on the roster, and we got to play them,
Yeah, yeah. But when you do when you do have that many guys who can play so many different positions, how do you get that coached up during the week, and where do they go? Do they all go, to a different position coach? How do you get all those skill sets covered? And is that fairly simple? Is that a simple process?
It's not simple at all. It's taken some, again, 2 secondary coaches is needed big time. So we'll have Indy. I'll take safeties. We have a really good corners coach. Anthony Marlboro played Tech, Cleveland Browns. He'll take the corners. We go one-on-ones inside. The corners and who I deem fit in the safety position will go to one-on-one. So those are kids that I think if we're playing zero, need some one-on-one work, if that makes sense. And who are I deem fit for run fits, those physical guys that I want to get in the run game, they'll go to inside with me, along with the outside linebackers. So they'll get inside, and then that's how we kind of split it. And it's worked for us. But the outside linebackers are the ones that's probably the hardest because they got to get 7-on-7. But the run fits are, as you know, extremely, extremely important on what they need to do. And I know it's inside, but again, they got to be out there making the calls in the run game. And it is inside run, but we'll do some perimeter things out there for them as well, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a good angle by number 27. He's trying to get him, but he can't. You know, most high school linemen are taught what? Read the guy in front of you or side of you, and then read the inside linebacker. Now you find a linebacker, now find the safety. I think that's hard, coach. I think that's hard for 16, 17-year-old kids to do an offensive line.
Well, and now you get that lineman out in space, you know, and you know, as linebackers, we try to pull those guys off of double teams and get them in space and try to block us in space. And so now you have a kid who's a safety who's backed up at 8 yards and he's key in the back, so he's coming down now. He knows where he's going. You know, good luck for the tackle trying to get, you know, 7 yards up, you know, off the line of scrimmage to get a body on that guy. That's really tough.
I mean, you know, he's a good player, you know, and that's the type of kid. I got another one. There's one I'm looking at right now in our program that's kind of like plays by the seatbelt a little bit, you know. And those are kind of guys you want that have some range, have some athleticism, and love being physical. This is a nice clip. You know, our kids don't panic and on zone dropping. We're passing off, we're talking, I got him, you take him. I think you kind of see this in this clip. Everybody's packing it back, finding the eligibles. Right? They just do a really good job of communicating, and we really stay on them. Again, that middle of the field is dicey. You know, it's really dicey if you look at it in there, coach. You know, these guys are really fast, athletic, and if you think about throwing it in there, we can not only pick it, but we can take it back to the house. A 2-by-2. Bring a pressure. Just trying to get them to move the pocket, you know, we don't want them sitting back there. And it's interesting because here's a good clip, coach, where we have an extra guy coming down. It's just not the rover.
Yeah, that's what exactly I was about to ask you. So right here, it's you have I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep butchering these guys' names. Is that the dime right there? Or I'm sorry, your
that's
cat.
cat.
The cat, yeah. The cat's coming down. And so now he's rolling down and your dime is rolling back. So is the cat playing, you know, I see that
we're playing a match cover 3. So he's
okay.
looking for whoever the number 2 is.
I got you. Okay.
So he's probably going deuce, deuce, deuce. I got a match 2.
Okay.
He's supposed to be deep, but he's hard-headed. And he's a 2 dropper on this side. So he's going to match if 2 comes in his route. 2's gone, or find him. But again, he's supposed to be dropping. But again, he has safety help. I don't have a number 3 going out. That's the beauty of it if you play match cover 3, because a lot of times these 2-man routes are, if your number 3 is not out there, you can drop. You're a free player.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's not 1 high, it's almost 2 high, you know?
Right.
He's just looking for work. He doesn't have any work. He can just zone up. You know, we jumped on these guys pretty fast. We had some good keys going in this game, and it's kind of worked out. I'll see if I find one more clip for you, Coach. And I think we already saw this one. So now, Coach asked me this. we can run, I call it choke. So essentially, coach, is what I'm saying, you can run a 3 high versus any front. This is a bear front right here. We're in a good old-fashioned bear front, and we're going 3 high safeties. And we're going to decide those extra fitters. And I've always felt like these condensed formations, they want us to condense with you. They want us to get, condensed like them. So you know what? We're not going to do that. We're going to stay back and just sort it out from depth. And because that's our kids' comfort level. So we're sorting out our fits from depth.
Well, you see that a lot where like you said, where teams get those 2 tight formations
Oh yeah.
to try
Oh
to
yeah.
add the gaps and get you guys to commit to the line of scrimmage with your with those safeties.
Oh, all the time, all the time. And we're not gonna let you get up to us. We're not gonna, that's what you want us to do, right?
Right.
So we're
Well,
not gonna come down.
and to me, again, how many teams, and I know you guys are the biggest classification, but how many teams carry 2 tight ends with them that are dudes? To me, it's you're subbing out now. You're taking a wide receiver off the field and putting a lesser athlete out there, and so that's a win already for your guys. Just in that regard, and like you said, still being able to maintain that leverage and not tightening down there with them, because that's not your game with the personnel that you have. Still gives you guys the advantage.
Well, yeah, because I said it from the start. I'm a bare front guy now. This is what I want to run. I just had this big and number 90 is not in there. We got big number 78 coming back next year. You can see how big he is. So that number 90 and 78, these are some big guys now. This is what we want to play, what I want to play. But I've kind of, morphed them together. And there may be another one. I'm doing a couple other clips, coach, for you. And then there's one more thing I want to show you that I know you're going to love. Because it is the hottest thing right now. So this, again, any front, you can run it. It could be a 4-man, it could be a 3-man. You can run a 3-high system. You just decide how you want to fit it. Just because they go big, you can get big, but still sort it out in a different way. I tell you, this kid loves contact. He's messing with these linemen all the time. This is mentality. That's that position of rover, coach. That's the kid you're looking for.
Right. Yep.
He wants to mix it up. I just told him, no, coach, he ain't found the right lineman yet. He'll stop.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, he hadn't found the right one yet. He'll find him. But he's a tough kid. And we're undersized, coach. We got Big James down there. And that's it. And so it'll be the last one that I'll kind of show you what we've evolved to. Again, we're in a bear front, play big. We got this big old joker taking 2 blocks. He'll be back next year with the Kalu kid. So I think we have 8 starters back on defense, and we're probably gonna have 6 guys on defense with offers by the end of spring. So we call this, before I start, coach, we call it Grizzly. And it's really all the A-gap pressures are doing, and we're stealing from all the teams in the NFL and in college.
Yeah. Here,
Um,
let me tell you a couple of things I had to ask, and you've covered a lot of them. I was talking kind of like just how offenses attack you and things like that. How do things? how do things like motions and formation of the boundary affect your structure, if at all? I mean, are you just adjusting with those safeties, walking them down, rolling, spinning to it, things like that?
It doesn't affect it at all, coach. We like I've had coaches ask me formation in the boundary or trips in the boundary. We see it, we see what they do, but we dictate the coverage we want to run, to be honest with you. And we dictate how we want to fit it. If it's a concern, we're we're not going to overshift or over rotate. Um, but it's not. Some of it is so window dressing, like where teams do it, but it's just doing it just to do it. We're not seeing it as a huge concern. If you want to run the boundary, fine with me because you got a shorter field. You know what I mean? And I know we're fast enough to get to it. Now we do get some unbalance. Now unbalance and tackle over are probably the main things we adjust to. No trips or no formation in the boundary will do that to us. But we will make sure we're sound versus unbalanced formations and things of that nature. That's the main thing.
Is your nose, talking about your nose, I can see in this clip right here, he's shaded. Is he always shaded and playing like he's playing that A gap, or do you ever play him head up and lag or push him through to the front side A gap? How do you play your nose?
Depends what kid we have. The kid we have next year, he is a true two gapper. He's 6'4", 290 pounds, and he's an anchor. So we'll put him head up, and you're gonna have to double team him because people can't block him with one person. That'll free up that more athletic under tackle we have in the DK Kalu kid, who's a natural three technique under tackle, quick off the ball. But James is just a bigger kid, he's just dense and heavy, not fat, just a really dense big person. So next year, play head up and dominate him. And that's what he's going to do. It's going to be tough for teams to move him. And it's not this kid you see, but it's just how we'll do that kid for next year. And what I've done, I've been lucky to have some good nose guards, where they can play, head up and take on double teams.
When you are breaking down an offense, you talked about how you like being the sort of that unique defense that offensive coordinators just shake their head at and go, oh, gosh, it's these guys this week. When you're looking at an offense, what is it? What type of offense, or what is it? What's something that an offense might do that kind of makes you think that, like, oh man, these guys, or this is going to be a little bit of a headache, or this is going to be a challenge trying to adjust to this. What types of those things kind of maybe make you lose a little bit of sleep during the week as a defensive coordinator?
I would say that the unbalanced formations, those get under my skin a little bit. Like, okay, do we want to, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. Do we want to bump over? Is it going to change our run fits to a certain way of how we want to bring pressures with the new gaps they've added? And that's kind of been the MO to attack us, is unbalanced formations and tight trips, condensed sets, right? Tight trips, tight doubles, things of that nature. That's been okay. And I think our kids have kind of gotten used to it. Okay, this is what we're getting. They just want to make sure we can fit it up and how we're going to fit it up. And then it's always that question, how many looks can you give to an unbalanced formation, right? How many different things can you do? So constantly trying to figure that out, constantly pushing the limits of what we can do versus those formations. And that would be the one for me to answer your question.
Well, I don't think that you are alone in that. In fact, I know you're not alone in that, because there's not many defensive coordinators who enjoy seeing that, unless you are blessed with a bunch of bigger defensive linemen, which you guys do have. But most of the time, that can be kind of a a troublesome thing for you when you do see that an offense is doing that, because it adds those extra gaps and you have to have a plan for it. Well, I'll get you out of here on this one, Coach. We'll kind of close it out with this one before we get into some lighthearted stuff here at the end. So, but like if I'm a defensive coordinator or I'm a defensive coach, say, yeah, we want to install this. Like, what advice would you give me if this is something I'm wanting to put in the spring?
I would just say, first of all, this is what I've been saying. You got a goal line defense. Everybody, yes, you need this defense. Now, whether you want to use it like we use it is up to you. But number one, what do you want to marry it with? I always think about, okay, what can I marry this scheme with? And I think if you're going to do it and you want to install it, you're going to have some patience and understand, number one, who's my personnel, what kids am I getting on the field, right? And what are their skill sets? Like, really know their skill sets. And I really believe that's the funnest part about doing this. And just have some base fronts and some base coverages until the kids understand it and build it from there. Who's the run fit, and be really good at the verbiage. That is key. There has to be multiple guys talking on who's spilling, who's boxing, who's the whole player. All that goes on in one play. So you have to translate that to the kids so they're comfortable in saying that. I think that kind of gets lost in this whole scheme. You know what I mean? The verbiage of how you want to communicate and how the communication is going to go. If you get the communication down, I think you'll be fine. I really do. You'll figure out where you need to tweak and what your kids are good at. But trust the verbiage and harp on the verbiage. That's very, very important, and because the kids have to know where their help is and what they're doing. And that would be my main thing. If I'm telling the coach, how do you want to call if you're running this coverage? What is the fourth player going to say? Backside, what is that player going to say? That has contained. Okay, what is whoever's fitting? What is he going to say to the mic? And what is the mic going to say to him? And just have that kind of laid out on how y'all want to say it. And I think if you do that, you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's great advice. I know for me personally that sometimes you want to try to put in a bunch of stuff and you feel like you got to put in a lot of wrinkles and this and that. And I think that, there's nothing wrong with starting out slow and being basic and simple with your kids. And again, because if like you said, if you don't have the verbiage down and everyone's speaking a different language out there, good luck. It doesn't matter what scheme you run, you're not going to be successful. So that's great advice for whatever scheme you're trying to install this spring. If you're trying to install something new, that you got to make sure you have that verbiage down and those kids understand what their job is. And like you've talked about several times tonight, knowing where their help is. Well, Coach, we're going to transition now into, this is something different for you, but our rapid fire segment where I'm going to kind of toss some questions out there, some football related, some non-football related, and let you weigh in on them. So what do you think, Coach? Does that sound like something you're up for?
Let's do it, Coach.
All right. So Coach, here's the first one. All right. And I'm going to we're going to throw you some softballs here first, and then we're going to heat up. I got a hard hitting question for you, being a TCU alum, but being a Dallas native. Okay. I always ask this type of question because you got a bunch of coaches who listen to this podcast, specifically D-line coaches, and we love to eat. So whenever you go back home to the Metroplex, what's a place that you're going to look at it? You're going to make sure you go by and stop in and grab something to eat. Give us some top eating spots in the DFW area.
You got to go to Hall's Chicken in Oak Cliff, man. You got to go to Hall's Chicken, right there on Camp Wisdom. I think it's still there. You can go to Williams Chicken, which is a really good place. There used to be this place off Ledbetter in Pleasant Grove called Sweet Georgia Brown's. I haven't lived in Dallas in a while. Like you go on the Skyline High School in Pleasant Grove, the Sweet Georgia Browns, Hall's Chicken are the places you got to go, man. You got to get by there. And don't forget them pickles with that chicken at Hall's. Lord have mercy.
Okay.
It's
All right.
really good.
Now, what about now that you're in the Houston area, Missouri City, wherever you wanna claim, what are your top spots to go to in Houston?
I will say this, and I lived in Mexico for 3.5 years. So I'm always looking for the best food trucks with tacos. Um, and right now, the best place I've been to is it's in A-Leaf. If you've ever been to Houston, so if you like street tacos, just go down Highway 6 in A-Leaf. You'll see some food trucks and some of the best barbacoa tacos. I know there's some on the east side of Houston. I'm just saying where I live in Katy, so um, that's the easier way for me to get to it than going all the way to the other side of town. But I love street tacos. Eat it all day.
Okay. All right. Well, there's some good recommendations for our guys out there who are going to be if they happen to be in the Metroplex or in the Houston area anytime soon. Okay. So here's the next question for you. All right. So game days, are you a coordinator that's in the box or are you on the sideline?
This is a good story right here, Coach. This is a very good story right here. I am a secondary coach. Most of my career, I've been in the box. Um, just calm. That's my personality. I think most people tell you when I'm coach, I'm pretty laid back, man. I'm at my ex corner, so yeah, I'm not an ex middle linebacker doing all that crazy stuff, man. I'm really chill, like too chill for a lot of people. Like it's just how I am. But I moved to the sideline this year around the third or fourth game, really because I just felt it was time. You know what I mean? You just kind of something that hits you. And you know what? I heard a Bill Belichick story about him and Nick Saban. I don't know if it was Saban talking or Belichick, and it kind of hit me in the face. And Belichick goes, "Well, it's your defense. You installed it. You got to talk to the guys on the sideline." And it just kind of hit me like, you know what? It's time for me. It's my defense. I've installed it. I did all the wrinkles, all the little things. It's up to me to be on the sideline for any adjustment, and that's kind of what I did. And it was a really smooth transition. And now I'll tell you this: my feet were hurting that first game, but um, my kids messed with me because I wore those Hokas, so my feet were a lot bit better after I got my Hoka shoes on,
Oh yeah,
walking on the
yeah,
sideline.
yeah. Okay, so when you are like at your most angry, okay, like you are livid. What's that look like? What's happening? Kids come off the field to the sideline. Are you meeting them out at the numbers? Are you waiting to get them over to the sideline? Or you keep it cool then, or what's that look like?
I got my call sheet over my mouth when they're on the sideline, on the bench.
I got you. Facing the field so mamas and daddies can't read your lips and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, so when it comes
That's
to
exactly
game
what you're
days,
doing.
are you superstitious? Do you have a routine, anything that you do that you feel like you have to do on game day in order for you guys to be successful?
I like getting off the bus last, on the defensive bus, and I have to talk to my wife, my daughters, and my mom and my brother. My brother's a coach in Atlanta. My older brother. Uh, he's older than me, but he coached almost 30 years in HBCUs and in the Atlanta area. Been a head coach. We lost our dad a couple years, so I'd always talk to my dad on game days, and mom and my brother. But since we lost dad, it's really imperative I talk to my wife, my daughters, and my brother and my mom. It just gives me a comfort level.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't call that superstitious either. I'd just say that's kind of it kind of gives you some perspective. Sometimes we, as coaches, we definitely need that, especially before we we roll out there on a Friday night. Okay, Coach, here's the hard-hitting question that the people want to know. Being a TCU alum, give me your opinion on Gary Patterson now being at Texas.
You know, I think he's needed in the league. I think the league is better with Gary in there somewhere. I didn't play for Coach Patterson. I'm just thankful we had him as an alum to just what he did with our program. Just hard nosed, blue collar football, football program. I think the University of Texas is going to benefit from him with those traits. And it's not like, you know, Benedict Arnold. I don't even feel like that. I just think, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good for the Big 12. So I think if you're a Big 12 fan, you're glad Gary Patterson's still in the league. You have to be, because he's needed in this league to keep it growing and keep it keeping up with the SEC and these other power leagues. You need a coach like that kind of makes you walk on thin ice, or makes you understand that, look, we're going to coach you up and coach you up hard, and whatever his role there, and I don't know his role, but just we all as coaches, we need that. Whether you're the head coach of whatever university, you need someone you can lean on that's done it before, at a high level. So I think it's okay. I mean, it is what it is, it's the age we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll close out with this one. Give us your best, whether it's a book or it's a clinic talk that we need to go find, something that you would recommend coaches checking out who are looking to learn some football or get better this off season.
I would say, I think, in my opinion, what they're doing, I don't watch a lot of college football film. I would say what they're doing in the NFL now defensively is awesome. If you're really watching football and I'm saying the defensive side of the ball, I watch a lot of NFL cut-ups. And for me, it's really, really going to the next level. We all know it goes in cycles, offenses, scoring a bunch of points, and then defense catches up. I think the defenses have caught up to a certain extent. And what they're doing coverage-wise and up front is really, really fun. So that would be my advice. That's what I'm doing right now, is just watching a lot of. I pick certain teams I want to watch. Last couple of years is the Dick Martell, I think his name, Wink Martell, that was at the Ravens, doing a heck of a job. I know he's going to be with the Giants this year, with New York. What the guys doing with the Rams, Raheem Morris, and then the guy that was before him, the Super Bowl champs, what they're doing defensively is really, really cool. The guy at the Cardinals, I mean, what's his name? Wilkins, or Wilson, I think his name is. What they do with Buda Baker and all those hybrids they play with, oh my gosh. You can get a lot of good stuff, and also Todd Bowles down in Tampa. So watch those guys. What they're doing. I think their game translates to high school a lot easier. It's bare fronts, it's simple coverages, it's just doing some cool things out of it. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's I'll be honest, I don't watch most of the time during the season. I don't watch a whole lot of NFL, and probably a lot of coaches don't either, but that's probably an untapped resource for me. And I would venture to say maybe a lot of coaches is watching the NFL. Usually if I do watch it, it's for the entertainment or to get my heart broken again by the Cowboys.
Yes.
But that's a great resource. You're right. I think that because the playing field is so level with those guys, that there is a lot of stuff that can translate to our game as high school coaches as well. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us today and talking to us about your defense and want to just wish you and the guys who are Ridge Point and the Panthers the best of luck in 2022.
I appreciate you, Coach. Thank you so much. And like you said, keep your pads down.